Hello guys and welcome. Today I will be showing you how to assemble your first PC. Today I have an old HP Compaq that I picked up off eBay for not too much. Maybe 60, 70 bucks, not horrible. It's been sitting around the house for a while. Figured I'd show you guys how to build a PC. The first step, we are going to grab our CPU, which is this little guy right here. This little bugger is an Intel Core 2 Duo. 2 cores, 2 threads. What you want to do, there is a little gold triangle right there, right above my big thumb. And on the motherboard, there's a little latch right here. Right there. You want to take the latch, pull it out to the side. Come on. And then it should pop right up, if I could get it for you guys. You gotta be very careful as to not hit any other components on the motherboard, or else you might risk damaging it. Now lift up, my bad. Now lift up this little flat with your fingers very carefully. And I know it's kind of hard to see, but right about, let me grab a screwdriver. Right about there, right above the screwdriver, there is a black gold arrow-esque thing where you want to align the two arrows with your CPU. Take it very carefully. This one happens to be a flat style connector. You do not want to touch these. That would be bad. Use your fingers very, very carefully. Do not drop your CPU. Do not bend any of these connection pins or else your CPU will not work. Simple as that. What you want to do, you want to take it, set it in there very, very carefully. Come on. I do not think that is correct. I was right the first time, my bad guys. The arrow goes right there. Nice and snug. That's not quite aligned right. There we go. Right there. You want to close the lid. Now this little lever is going to be stiff. Very, very, very stiff. Just want to push it right back down where it came from. And that's how you install your CPU. Next up, I apologize for my table moving, it's a little uneven. But next up, we have the CPU cooler. Make sure your thermal paste is already applied. I couldn't get it out when disassembling this PC, so the fan is still plugged in. But make sure that these screw holes are lined up with the screws. Now what you want to do, after you make sure that they are all aligned, you want to grab a very, very small flathead screwdriver. Very small, as you can see. And you want to just carefully screw them all in, but you want to do it in a very specific pattern. You want to do it in diagonals. Once you get one tight, it's getting there. Don't worry, guys. It takes a lot to screw in these little CPUs. It's not too terribly tight, just gotta take my time and go slow with it. There we go. When you feel resistance, immediately stop. You do not want to thread it in all the way, or else you will bear out your threads. But what I meant by diagonals is you want to do one corner, this corner where the screwdriver is, then you want to go to the one right across from it, and then just tighten it down. If I could get my screwdriver seated, that would help. Come on, little guy. It's not quite seated right. There we go, I think it's screwing. Yep, I feel enough resistance to know it's screwing. Oh, screwdriver slipped. Resistance and stop. Now you want to come to this corner and just very, very carefully screw it in. table wiggled a little bit and screwdriver lost its spot. But that's okay. Keep screwing. Resistance, and stop. Last screw. Come on. Gotta get my screwdriver seated. There we go. Try not to wiggle your motherboard a little too much, as you might damage the connections on the bottom of the motherboard. Resistance, and stop. You have successfully installed your CPU and CPU cooler. Now make sure that you have a fan connector right here, so that way it can, cool the CPU. But the connections on the bottom of the motherboard look like that. Nothing special, but they're down there. They'd get the job done. Be very careful when touching your motherboard, as you don't want to bend any of the VRAM or anything. Next up is the fun part. I'm going to show you how to install RAM, Random Access Memory. Right here, I have 4 gigabytes of DDR2, yes, you heard that right, 2, clocked at, let me check here for you. I don't believe it says it on this, but I've got 4 gigabytes of DDR2 RAM from G.Skill. This episode is not sponsored by G.Skill, this was just what was in the PC. But I do trust G.Skill, so if you're ever building a PC, go to Amazon and buy G.Skill. They're fairly low price for fairly good performance. Now, what you want to do is right here and here, you have 2 little white connectors. You want to very carefully push them down. You should hear small clicks. Do it with the next set. Good. You are all set. Now, take your random access memory, or RAM. Make sure that the little pinhole right above my fingernail is lined up with the little divot right above my fingernail in the RAM. Now you want to make sure it's lined up very carefully and press down and you should hear a snap. It is not quite lined up, that is my bad. There you go. Little snap, nothing big. Take your second stick of G.Skill RAM and just do the same thing. Nice and easy. RAM can be a little tricky if this is your first build, but this is not the first time I have taken apart this PC. Or any PC for that matter. Get it seated in there. A little more to the side. Sorry guys, it just does not want to go in today. Let me pull it out and align it again. There you go. Satisfying little crunch. Oh, wasn't in all the way. Let's pop that out. Make sure it's popped back in all the way. There we go. There's the crunch we wanted. Yep. Now these are both secure. We are going to grab our case. Let me just move these aside. Now, my motherboard only came with 2 screws. But this case has an option for 6 screw slots. I'm going to get all this out of the way. The last thing I want to squish is the graphics card, which would be very bad. My case happened to come with a power supply pre-installed right here. I believe it's a 165 watt. Yep, 165 watt power supply. I'll scooch this up so you guys can see it. I'm going to turn the flash on. Now you can see a little bit better. Now what you want to do at this point is you have your ports right along here. Right along down here, you can't see it because this fence in the way, that is my bad. But right down here, there are ports that you want to line it up with. Make sure all your wires are out of the way. And you want to take your motherboard, sorry about all the clump of wires. That's kind of the problem that happens when your motherboard, my bad, power supply is pre-installed. You get cables in the way, and a lot of them. Just gotta get these guys tucked under here for you. You want to make sure that your ports are lined up. But you gotta be very, very careful. If you have to pinch it, make sure you do so, but make sure that there are no wires in the way whatsoever. Come on, get out of there. Good wire. Try not to bang it around too much. It's gonna be a little tight, but it'll fit. Get all your additional wires out of the way. Sorry, I have big hands. It's kind of difficult for me. Gently set your motherboard down. It should slide right into place. Must be a wire in the way or something here, because she's not quite sliding into place just right. There we go. Now, you want to take your motherboard screws. Since I only have 2, I'm going to be very select about where I put them. I want to put one in each corner. I have magnetic screwdrivers, which I'm very fortunate to have, because it makes this a lot easier. Since I only have 2, I'm going to put them in the corners. Give me a second here. I think I'm just wearing down on the motherboard here. There we go. Resistance and stop. Just cushion this back a little bit more for you. I want to take my other motherboard screw. Once again, set it right on the top of the screwdriver. Gonna get the hole lined up. Just gonna install it. Piece of cake, nothing to it. Resistance and stop. Now, for my absolute favorite part is getting all the wires where they belong. This wire, kind of hard to see, but it's a 4-pin fan connector, which on my motherboard goes right in here. There's a little clip, so once you hear the snap, you'll know it's in. Just like so. Now I got this little guy, which is very, very hard to get in. With a little bit of patience, you'll get it, and it goes right. Come on, little guy. About there. You heard the snap. Now, the fun part. These are SATA wires. We're not worrying about those yet. We've got this little guy. I'm honestly not quite sure what this one is, but it goes right down here. I think that's backwards. Sorry about that. Screwdriver wiggled. There we go. Installed. Now, the tricky part. Gotta get all my wires. This big wire, black one, it's gonna go all the way. Where'd it go on my motherboard? Right here. Try not to poke your fans too much, your pins too much, as you might bend them, which would be bad. Might take a second to get it in there, but make sure it's in there and it's in there tight. You don't want a connection wiggling loose when you're trying to game. This thing's not really meant for gaming, but if I wanted to, I could get it done. Now, I need to find my yellow wire. My multicolored wire. Right here. Goes right. If I can make sure that the pins are lined up. Come on, a little more slack. Can't quite see, but I'm getting it done for you guys. Are my pins lined up? The pinhole is not lined up. That would probably help a lot. Come on, there you go. I honestly am thinking that's not the right one. Black goes with black, white goes with white. So this has to be it, right? Pinhole is missing right there. But we need to get this swapped over. Oh, slid my case a little bit. That's my bad. Oh, I'm so silly, guys. It goes right here. What am I talking about? I'm silly. The black wire. It's got the black casing. Want to make sure my pinholes are lined up. And this little guy. I'm missing the pin right there. And I'm missing the pin right there. So I want to get this little guy. This is a USB wire. I want to get him plugged in. I believe. Got it backwards. Come on. No, I think I was right the first time. I was. I'm sorry. Sorry if my head's in the way. Just gotta be able to see. I'm trying to give you guys as much space as possible to see this. Oh, come on. A little more. Oh, it slipped. Try not to let your wires slip. We will come back to that one. We're going to take our white wire, which has plenty of slack, and simply plug it into the white slot. See? Piece of cake. It was simple. Now if only the black one would go in that easily. Am I right? Or am I right? This is proving to be exceptionally difficult today, but, ladies and gentlemen, we got it. Now, I believe I have another wire somewhere. That's not it. Those are for SATA. I guess I do not have another wire somewhere. Uh-huh, interesting. Now, this big one right here is your motherboard power. Let me get the SATA cords out of the way. I'm just going to try and wiggle it through that, so it'll be right there, out of the way. Goes right here. The white slot with the white one. You want to make sure the clip is facing towards the RAM. You just want to get it all lined up. Push it down. Should hear a small enough little snap. Guess there wasn't a snap. It's plugged in. It's solid. No worries. Now, for the hard drive. The SATA drive. You can put in an SSD. This part, the hard drive, is completely optional. Hard drives are slower. Imagine that. Let me bring back my PC so you guys can see. Right here, I have a Western Digital 250 gigabyte SSD. SSD, my bad. HDD, hard disk drive. I want to set it in upside down, so that way these screw holes are facing up. I want to slide it into this port. Might have to wiggle it a little bit to get it in there, but I assure you it'll go in there, just like so. Again, this only had 2 screws, so let's get 1 screw on there, lined up, and screw it in. There we go, start to catch resistance and stop. Now grab your other screw. Again, I only had 2. I'm going to be going out and getting some more at some point. Slide it back just a little bit, so that way it'll connect. Oh, my bad, try not to do that. Slide it in there. Screw it in until you get the resistance and stop. Now, with this hard drive, it's a little wacky. I need a special SATA cable, which I happen to have. It's got a USB legacy power, but this isn't the right type of legacy power. It's got the regular SATA power, and I've got the SATA cable. Right here goes into the light blue slot on the motherboard. Make sure it's lined up, and press it right down. Now take your SATA right here. Make sure it's aligned the right way. It should slide right in. Now I want to take this little cord out here. Oh no, don't tell me you're stuck. That wasn't a good idea. There we go. I need the hole connector for the legacy power. I need to flip it upside down, and it plugs in. This is the correct way. Right there. Cable management's not the best in these old PCs, but as long as everything's out of your fans, you should be okay. For the next fun part, and the final part, the graphics card. Right here, you have a slot for the connectivity ports of your graphics card to go through. My graphics card here is just an old Radeon X1300 Pro. This thing is a relic, but it has a 16 times PCIe slot. And the 16 times PCIe slot on the motherboard is right here, right where I'm touching. What you want to do, you want to take this end, you want to line it up with the top of this hole here. Move all your cords out of the way. Get it lined up. Come on. Having a little bit of difficulty here. My apologies. There we go. Lined up. Pushed forwards as far as it'll go. Just drop it in there. And you should hear a solid enough sliding noise. And now, make sure all your cables are out of the way. The last thing you want is a cable stuck in one of your fans. Here, I should be good. I'm going to get this little guy and tuck it right back around here. It's not going to stay right there, okay. Then we'll set it right about here. And there you have it. You built your PC. Now what you want to do is you want to grab your case cover. Mine is right here. Old case cover. I have a line right here. Let me pull this forward for you guys a little bit. You want to get it lined up right here. Mine needs to be pulled out a little bit, so that way it can line up with these slots here. Then I push it forwards. Mine, the screwdriver. Push it forwards. And there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, you have just built a PC. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment what you think I should do next with this PC. Thank you for watching, and bye.